Happy New Year, everybody. So I wanted to address a flaw that most people run into when they start their calisthenics training, and I was certainly guilty of it. So I find that most people tend to focus entirely on chasing the full variation of each calisthenics skill and completely overlook incredibly valuable positions such as the straddle, the tuck, the single leg, and most importantly, the half lay. Most people don't even know what a half lay is. So anyway, rather than flowing this day, I came up with 6 different progressive exercises. These are very advanced. You can do them as reps and sets. None of these require a full human flag, but all of these are much more difficult than a full human flag. So let's start using different shapes and spending a lot of time under tension and rotating the body in ways that are completely unique to the human flag and cannot really be done with the full variation. It's not all about the full variation. A lot can be gained from doing the lesser variants. And here's, let's start. So I'm doing the scorpion half lay into the single leg V-sit and then driving my hips up into the candlestick. So as you watch in slow motion here, my chest is up to the sky. I extend my hip and drive into that deep scorpion half lay. Bring my knee to my chest, extend into the single leg V-sit, then drive my hips up into that candlestick. This is going to be accessible to people early on in their flag training. It's still advanced when you're doing it for reps and sets, and that unlocking the spine and driving the hips, it's brutal. So I love this drill because I'm going in and out of hollow body and really working on my hip drive. So this is very similar, but now I'm going to be shifting sideways. So here I'm sideways in that wide straddle, and then I'm twisting my body up, rotating, really protracting my scapula, shoving that shoulder out of its socket as hard as I can, and going up into that scorpion flag. So this is a really good progressive drill to teach you how to rotate in your flags. And I think that is key. Rotating is a huge skill and takes a ton of strength. So now I'm going to be doing tick-tocks with the wide straddle. So as you see, my whole body is sideways, so this is the much more difficult variant, and I'm working my sideways pulling and pressing ability. So as you see me in slow motion now, when my leg is going down, I'm looking down, and when my legs and hips are rising, I'm looking up. The body goes where the eyes are looking. So while I am not rotating my trunk in this variation, I am always turning my head based on where my lower body is moving. So, pull a bit and press a bit, but always make sure that your scapula on the bottom arm is fully protracted and shoved out of that socket. Now here, this is a great drill for entering and exiting flags. I call these mirrored steps. So I turn my body and I do the 2 steps on the bottom, I rotate my body to the side, and then I rotate my body chest up to the sky and do the 2 steps on the top. So as we go into slow motion here, here's what you need to know. So I'm going to start my flag by going into the straddle. Now, when I bring my feet together for the frog and I rotate my body down, notice I keep that bottom arm shoved as hard as it can out of the socket. I make sure I protract as hard as possible and try to keep my hips pretty high while I do those steps. Then I rotate my hips with the frog, extend into the straddle, and pull my knees together as I rotate my chest up to the sky. Again, shoving my shoulder as hard as humanly possible out of the socket. And then I do my single leg V-sits at the top as steps, and then rotate my body again. The rotational strength in human flags is tremendous, and I really, really, really find a huge value in working it. Now, this was one of the more brutal things that I could do in a flag. This doesn't look like that much, but doing a V-sit, sideways V-sit in a human flag is torture. I can't even explain this. You're gonna have to lean your body very similarly. So watch, I'm in the sideways flag, and then notice how I sink backwards as I extend into the V-sit. You're gonna need to be able to do an archer press for this one. Notice I am bending my lower elbow, but at no point does my shoulder ever sink into its socket. So I'm keeping full shoulder protraction on that bottom arm as I sink backwards, similar to a press handstand, how you're gonna have to shift your body weight and move your shoulders forward of your hands. It's brutal and essential if you wanna do things like the Maltese flag. Same here. So these corkscrews are, I can't even explain how difficult this is. Even though it's a single leg, rotating my body downwards like this is so much more difficult than a full human flag. I don't even know where to begin. So this really goes into the training philosophy that I was saying earlier. The full variation is not always the most difficult thing you can do. So starting here, this is just a single leg tuck. So this isn't even an extended single leg, but then rotating laterally like this, instead of just extending outward and then rotating my body back up and then over rotating as well over into the single leg V-sit flag. Tremendous strength requirement. This is so much more difficult than a human flag, and yet this is basically one of the most basic positions. Basically basic, blah blah blah, redundant. But anyway, this is one of the most basic flag progressions you can get into. It's just a single leg tuck flag. But so that's what I mean. Don't always focus on the same position, and that's just the full position of everything. Try different variations. Try moving your body differently with an easier shape. You'll be amazed at what you find out, and you'll be amazed at how much it helps. So finally, this is a bonus. This is just a progressive method for the full corkscrews, because like I said, they're brutal. They're honestly really brutal. Rotating your body side to side like this in the human flag is one of the most difficult things you can do. I mean, it's just don't even try it unless flag archers are easy for you. This one, the corkscrews are torture. Anyway, I hope this opened your eyes to some things. You don't always need the full variation. Sometimes a simple tuck is harder than the full. Love you guys.